Hi guys, I'm Danielle and I will be 9 months clean and sober on the 17th. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about my story, and I'm hoping that hearing my story will encourage you guys to do the same thing. I lived a normal childhood. My parents split up when I was very, very young. I lived with my mom full time, but I would go to my dad's on the weekends. My mom remarried and they had my 2 little brothers. And when I was 12, my stepdad killed himself. I lost my stepdad to addiction. He committed suicide, but he had a severe drug problem. He was always like a second father figure, and he had his moments where he was either really good or really bad. And finally, it was actually April 29th was his anniversary. He's been gone 10 years. After that, I just kind of started to spiral downhill. My aunt moved to Germany, and I was very close to her, and that also really took a toll. And then I slowly got into drugs when I was about 19. I had experimented in high school a little bit, but then I found meth, and that took my life over. I thought, oh, I'll just try this one time. I'm not going to do it again, just this one time. And one time led to couple years later when I finally decided to get clean and sober. But throughout my journey of addiction, I met my son's dad, and then I got pregnant when I was 20 and had him at 21. I was able to stay clean and sober through my whole pregnancy, but the day I came home from the hospital, I relapsed. I would go on bingers. I would use for a week and then get clean and sober, go back to using again, and then so forth. But when I knew I couldn't stop on my own is when I knew I needed help. But I was also, too, facing 20 years in prison. Identity theft. That was during my addiction, and that's something that I'm not proud of and something I don't talk about a lot. But it was either I could lose my child, I could go to prison for 20 years, or I could go to rehab, not go to prison for 20 years, and still raise my son. I was really mean to my mom in my addiction. I took all my anger out on my mom, which by now we have a great relationship, but it's taken over time to rebuild our relationship. And there's so many things that I regret, especially putting my parents through. But without my parents' help, there's no way I could have gotten off drugs by myself. I was pissed off. I was mad. I'm a first-time mom. My son was 3 months old, let alone going to treatment out of state. August 27th, I came to treatment at ABT, and I was pissed off. I was so mad. I didn't want to be there. I was just very angry with my mom. I just didn't want to be there. But then I'd passed 30 days in treatment, and I was like, okay, I can do it. I ended up doing 46 days total in treatment. With that, I made the decision to move to Arizona. Once I got into the swing of things, I knew I wanted to be clean and sober because I started to see things more clearly. And 2, hanging over my head was prison and losing my son. I had found ABT all on my own. They're amazing because they have been in your shoes once. They can relate to you, and they're there for you. It was a really cool experience. I also did sober living at ABT too. I was also going back and forth from here to Colorado to see my son. It was a cool experience in sober living, but now I have my son full time again. I would never wish this upon anybody ever because I saw what it did to my life. And stop eating quartz. And I saw what it's done to other people's lives. There's so many people that I know that have had their kids taken from them because of it. I have done my fair share of things that I don't talk about, and it's things I'm not proud of, but it's things that I've learned from. I actually have not started my 12 steps. My dad's family lives here. I knew I couldn't stay clean and sober living in Colorado. There's so many tools I learned in treatment, a lot more than I thought. I've had to cut so many people out of my life, including my son's dad, even including family members. I'm a full-time mom again. My son's about to be 1 on May 10th. And my life has just gone back to, I guess, normal. I still have my moments where I struggle. I've been doing a lot of online meetings And I just pray. I haven't had a craving in so long. I love being Trey's mom. My son, he's been through a lot in this past year. He has heart problems, and when I was in sober living at ABT, he was still living with my mom. And so he had a hard time with me when I'd come and visit, but mommy would leave. My mom's dad is also in recovery himself. My grandfather has like 30 some years clean and sober from alcohol, and I really look up to him. And I've repaired that relationship with him, but I also had to repair my relationship too, like with my mom and stuff. And now my mom and I are very, very close. She's actually coming out to visit next week. So when you need help, and don't be afraid to ask for help, that is something that the staff at the RC has taught me. It's okay to ask for help and to reach out, especially through this whole quarantine. Like, I'm sure a lot of people are struggling, but it's okay to ask for help.